What do you really like to do and what are you really good at? And don't worry about anything else.
Welcome back to Abundant Culture Podcast,
where we dissect the mindsets and tactics of the true beasts of business.
People like Gary Vee, Grant Cardone, and Warren Buffett.
All to create a blueprint to experience life more abundantly.
Did you reach your financial goal last year? If so, let's be honest, you could still do better. So we want to personally help you with that. 2020 is all about big goals. So this year, we are spreading even more abundance by giving out insights on money, wealth strategies, and resources in our current newsletter, Creating Abundance in 52 Weeks. Sign up now on our website at www.abundantculture.co/newsletter. Again, that's www.abundantculture.co/newsletter. You don't want to miss out. Now, back to the episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to your favorite podcast once again. This week, we're talking all about PR. We're breaking down the differences between PR and marketing and really helping you understand what PR is, not to mention how to find a great PR person, also make you more known and successful, and get you on national TV too. This week's guest is the CEO of BrEpic Communications, a PR firm that writes compelling, newsworthy stories for its clients and pitches those stories to media across the country. BrEpic clients include Allstate, University of Illinois, Salvation Army, and so many more. So get ready to listen to and learn from our good friend, Justin Breen. So hi, Justin, and thank you again for coming on to the Abundant Culture Podcast. We are very excited to have you on today, and really we should have asked you a long time ago. But
Okay.
Your work is like so needed, especially if like business owners and entrepreneurs are trying to grow. And we can't wait to use you ourselves. But before we get into, all the PR stuff, how did you get into business? Tell us your backstory.
Well, it's quite a story, and actually, that's the start of my book, Epic Business, which is coming out May 19th. So I cannot wait to debut it. But so May or May 19th. Yeah, I can't believe it's coming up so soon. But essentially, I had my journalism job salary cut in half just due to cutbacks, and tried to find a full-time job. Couldn't find it. Started doing freelance stuff on the side while I was working full-time as a journalist, and turned the freelance stuff into my company. Reached out to 5,000 people to get my first 5 clients, resigned the next day from my full-time job, and then announced to everybody I'd started a company the Monday after that through a Robert Feeder column. Robert's the top media journalist in the Midwest. So that was June 5th, 2017 when that announcement came out, and it's been an unbelievable ride ever since, just working with basically visionaries around the world now, telling their stories.
That's absolutely amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. So for our listeners who may not necessarily know the PR and journalism world like that, one question I wanted to ask was, what does PR actually stand for? And what's the difference between PR, journalism, and a publicist?
So you'll get, if you ask a traditional PR person that question, you're going to get a much different answer. But so I was a journalist for 20 plus years, and I created my entire business model based on how PR firms annoyed me for 20 years by doing things that I totally disagreed with. So I am not by any means a PR person, even though I run a PR firm. The term PR runs for public relations. What BrEpic really does is creates actual stories that are interesting as opposed to really bad press releases. And then those stories become links on the client's website on news or blog, and then I market or pitch that link to media all over the world. So the model works for any size business, any location, any vertical. And what I found is I just kept raising my rates and weeded out all the nonsense. And I only work with visionaries now who understand investing in themselves and their business. And what's happened is those people just keep referring me to other visionaries. So all this stuff's going to be in the book. Basically wrote 30 chapters, 30 things that these high-level entrepreneurs have told me. And in the first 30 months of BrEpic. And that's why I'm really excited to debut it, because I know it's going to really help people who are either starting their businesses or trying to get to the next level. Because I mean, I'm living proof that, you can spend more time with your family and really build a business from nothing to a super successful one in a pretty short amount of time.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
So can you shed a little light on the process of reaching out to 5,000 people for your first 5 clients? Because I don't think a lot of entrepreneurs understand that level of consistency and dedication. And we just love to showcase that on this podcast. So can you kind of walk us through that experience? How did it feel? And also, like, who were some of the 5,000 people, I guess? Kind of give us a little insight on that.
Yep. So as a journalist, I had built, a contact list of tens of thousands of people, and I just started every day constantly reaching out to them via email, LinkedIn message, phone calls, endless meetings. And, again, I had people didn't even know I had a business yet. And, but that's the effort that it took. People think that, like, oh, entrepreneur life is sunshine and rainbows. And really, if you can't accept failure or like serious potential depression and all that kind of stuff, you should not become an entrepreneur, because it's just not for everybody. And me personally, even among entrepreneurs, I'm kind of like a weird kind of anomaly where, and that's how all these visionaries are too, that I work with. We're just kind of like floating around, and have put in effort. Like, it's like an insane amount of effort to get to the point that we've done it. And now I'm starting to scale the business finally. And it's just been process after process, but like, just to get started, that's what it took. It's like, it wasn't reaching out to 10 people. It was reaching out to thousands of people to just get it started. And so that's how it is. It's just the reality of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, for sure.
So what got you into journalism in the first place? Because journalism started, this whole path for you in the PR space, but how did you get to journalism?
Yeah, so this is really all I've ever wanted to do. My unique ability is telling people's stories and then connecting with very high level, awesome entrepreneurs. Like, I could literally do that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I never get tired of it. I have an insatiable curiosity. I love asking people questions. People tell me things that they've never told other people before. So I just have this unique ability to do that. I've always been an inquisitive person, even as a kid, reading the Chicago Tribune with my dad when I was very, very, very young. So yeah, like, that's the cool thing about this company, is really I'm still doing journalism. It's almost the same type of articles I did as a journalist, with a little bit of the client information blended in. And that's why it's been successful, because again, it's not press releases and it's not just garbage stuff that serves the client. It actually serves the journalist, and journalists are smart. They know the difference between BS nonsense and the real deal. So, yeah.
So could you shed a little light on like the process that you take entrepreneurs to through when they finally decide to invest in themselves? They say, I want to work with you. What does that process really look like? Because I feel like PR is something that is extremely underrated in the entrepreneurial realm. And I don't think a lot of people know what that process actually looks like.
Yep. So BrEpic's process is extremely simple. I literally created, again, this model based on how people annoyed me and what I thought would work much better, way more streamlined, et cetera. So it's a 4-step process. The client and I work to develop a story list, story ideas. I interview the client, or my team of reporters interviews them. We write the story. The story gets edited by me and the client. It becomes a link on the client's website under news or blog. And then I take that link and market it to media. If media is interested, I introduce them to the client contact. So for bigger companies, it's usually the communications director or the marketing director. For smaller companies, it's the founder, CEO, or the co-founder, CEO. So that's it. That's the entire process. I can't tell you how many times people have asked me, what do PR firms do? Because they don't explain it well. Again, this is all I do. If you don't want to do it, fine. You can go somewhere else. It's no big deal. I know the results that my firm gets for its clients, and the type of people that it attracts are only the cream of the crop people, which is the only people I want to work with anyway. So,
and I can always tell when somebody is really great at what they do,
Mm-hmm.
when you ask them, how do you build this, huge brand and have all of these clients and different things of that nature, and they can put it into like less than 10 steps.
Yeah,
You
right.
just
That's
did.
it. I mean, less than 5. I mean, so basically, like what I do can be explained to a third grader. My firm writes interesting stories and gets clients on the news. That's it. That's it. That's the whole thing. And so again, like these high level people who understand investing in themselves, they understand how important it is. They don't think it's underrated at all. They know that an investment with my firm will lead to a 5x, 10x investment. So it's been interesting because I work with a lot of very wealthy people, but I also work with people who have taken out loans or gotten another credit card because they know that this investment will lead to a major, return on investment and get them notoriety and publicity and increase their business and help them stand out from the competition. So it's like, that's why it's fun, because people like that just, again, keep referring me to other people like that. And it's less of a wait for people to sign contracts. They just understand that this will help them. And then boom, here we go. And now you're in the media and look at the results you're getting. So it's been a lot of fun.
And just so that our viewers, our listeners actually know, Justin here has worked with Joe Martin, which is an extremely well-known entrepreneur in the Chicagoland area. He has his own meetup. I think the meetup has like over 1,000 members or something like that. And also Cortland Cofield, which is a very
His name's Carter now. His name's Carter. He legally changed it.
It's Carter now?
Yes, he changed it legally. Yeah, he just
okay. So Carter Cofield, who is a very successful financial advisor, and like literally, he's been in the news so many times that it's ridiculous. And both of them have been on our podcast. So what Justin says really works. And honestly, I've never even thought about like, oh, how do you get on the news? And it's like, oh, through this guy Justin, and it's like, oh,
yeah, it's not magic. It's like hard work. But I just not like, so I'm really good at this. And then I'm really good at being a dad and husband. And other than that, I don't, I'm not good at anything really. But that's okay. Right. And, so the key when I started this is, again, all I do is meet with these amazing entrepreneurs all day. I just constantly am talking to them. And that's what this book is about, is I squirreled away these lessons and then actually implemented them. But the best advice I got was this really awesome guy named Ed. And he told me, do what you really love to do and what you're really good at, and don't do anything else. And so that's all BrEpic does. And then I just keep doubling down on those core values and just increase rates and then work with more awesome people. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, for sure.
So, simplicity is key.
Yep,
for sure. So, and can you also kind of shed a little insight on, I guess, what an entrepreneur should be really looking for in regards to separating a good PR person from maybe a mediocre PR person? Because I'm pretty sure there's both of them out there.
There's a lot of mediocre PR people out there. There are some good ones. So here's how I separate mediocre people or business owners in general from non-mediocre. If people talk a lot, but they don't actually say anything, if they charge by the hour, I would essentially never work with somebody like that. And if the rates are too low, you're not, if you get what you pay for. So, I mean, if someone can't invest, at least 5 figures with me, it's not a good fit. And that's just how it is. So the people who understand that do it, and the people that don't, I consider that like a nickel and dime mentality. And you really don't want to associate or work with those type of people, because they're just going to keep referring you to other nickel and dime people. So I only work with visionaries now. And it's okay to say no to people. I mean, that's just how it is.
Yeah, for sure.
So when you started off, like when you first started off the PR company, would you say that your rates were like super low, or like what did that look like?
So that's interesting. The first check I ever got for BrEpic was $500. And I was so happy when I got that check, because it said the company name on it. And I'm very thankful to that client, that business, for for that check, but there's no way I would work with that person. I mean, it would never be a good fit now. So my rates have, tripled and quadrupled, and exponentially raised them. And that's been a huge key to growing the business, because, if you can attract one good client, it's much easier to work with one good client than 3 bad clients that pay the same, that adds the same amount. But yes, obviously my rates were a lot less when I started, because you have to build a brand first. But then again, when you start realizing your true worth and value, you just raise your rates accordingly. And when I started doing that, I had less clients at first. I knew I would take a hit, but I knew I stuck to it. And after a couple months, then it really started to turn around, because those high level people were starting to refer me to higher level people, and the nickel and dime folks started to drop away.
Yeah. And that's really incredible too. I think a lot of our listeners can definitely get value out of that, because we just went through a process where we went from a free service to charging a few $100s for the service to now it's going to be $1,000 or a couple $1,000s.
Okay. More.
Yeah, more for sure.
Free. Oh, come on now.
Yeah. It was definitely,
we did that for a while.
We did it for a while. It was
awesome. Talk to me first. Would have come over there and come through the computer screen at you.
Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of entrepreneurs definitely need to hear, because
let me interrupt you, because this is super important. So I help a lot of journalists leave journalism and start PR firms. Mm-hmm. And so a very accomplished TV reporter in Chicago, she left and she's starting a PR thing. And she's like, should I charge like $250 for a successful pitch? And I go, if people don't want to invest 5 figures with you, do not work with them. So I don't expect her to start having those type of fees yet, but to charge $250 to $300 it's insane. So you got to raise the rates much higher than that. So she didn't understand that mentality. And I didn't either until, a year or so into the process. But so I try to change people's brains right away, as opposed to having to go through what you went through with a free thing, then a couple hundred, and then, now you're into a couple thousand. But you'll see when you start getting into the high 4 figures, low 5 figures, you'll see the people that you interact with are like, oh my God, these are amazing visionary type people.
Yeah, for sure.
And I feel like you get stuck in that trap too. Like you said, the people that pay like nickel and dime, they refer you to those same types.
Right, because that's the only people they hang out with.
Yeah, so it's just going to be a continuous cycle.
Yeah, it's nonsense. And so I'll go into a room and talk to, let's say, just 20 people. 18 to 19 of those people will look at me like I'm an alien. I'm serious. They'll look at me like, who the hell is this guy? But 1 or 2 people will be like smiling, like you guys are smiling right now. If you can't see this, they're smiling right now. So, and those are the only people I care about having as clients, because they get it. They've had to deal with this nonsense, and they've pushed that aside to focus on only the people they really want to do business with. So I found that the more people pay, the less problems they cause. And some people might think it's surprising, but it doesn't surprise me. They're the best people out there. They're the most giving. They're the friendliest. They care about you. They're super happy with any result that you get, because they're living their dreams too. And they're not just pie in the sky people. They're actually achieving what they set out to do. Yeah. And that's how I am too. So that just attracts other visionaries. Nickel and dime people will never work with me anymore, because they're just not, we're different. We just have different mentalities. Sure. And so when you have self-belief and self-confidence, that's just what happens. And it's really great to for me to be able to share this advice with people who are, as you said, stuck kind of in this place where you really shouldn't be. You shouldn't be working with those type of people or in that mindset.
Yeah, for sure. So to an, prospective entrepreneur, can you shed a little light for them the importance of hiring a good PR person and what can they really expect when working with a good PR person? Like what benefit would they get? Because I don't think a lot of business owners get it. I didn't get it before I met you. So I think if you can expand on that, that'll be great.
So let me say that most of the people, again, that I partner with now already understand how important this is, because these are people that understand investing in themselves, whether it's through coaching, whether it's through networking groups. And I'm not talking like $500 a year networking groups. I'm talking like 5,000 to 10,000 a year networking groups.
For sure.
And but like on the most basic level, people hire my firm for two reasons. One, to grow their business immediately. By being in media, it gets eyeballs on your product and your business, and it leads to sales. So that's anecdotally. Two, which I think is more important, is that it increases your validity, credibility, and closing rate. Meaning if people Google your name and they see you in the Chicago Tribune or in Cranes or in the Wall Street Journal, it will help you short-term and long-term with sales, and again, increasing your validity. So for me, I'm constantly in the media. I'm constantly doing interviews. And I know, again, anecdotally, it's led to tens of thousands of dollars in contracts because people are constantly seeing me in the news. And I just know the value of media, in reputable media, as opposed to like pay for play kind of nonsense. Like people want to be in the news. That's a very, very powerful way of reaching your audience.
Yeah, for sure. I thought you wanted to tax the next.
Did I stun you with that?
No, not at all. That was really, really a great point. What are 3 PR tips that you can actually give to business owners that will make them successful? Because I like when you said that it not only helps get more eyeballs on you, which if people don't know you, they can't do business with you, but also it heightens your close rate. So that's like, that's what you want in your business or in your marketing. So can you give them like maybe 3 tips that will kind of help them move forward into getting into more PR, just because, like it's something that's needed, I feel like, for every entrepreneur. And just so people know, I am definitely gonna invest in my PR.
Great. I appreciate that. Sure. So 1, never do a press release. It's the worst 2 words in the English language put together, as far as I'm concerned.
What exactly is a press release?
It's a blah, blah, blah opens in whatever. And it says nothing interesting. And it's an email that's sent to 200 journalists with no photos or anything like that. It's just a total waste of time. As a journalist, you get hundreds of those a day. Don't do it. Don't even think about doing it. If some PR firm says that's what they do, I would never spend a dime with that. It's your call, but you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
2, for the most part, people do not care about what you do. They care about who you are. So there are exceptions to that, because I work with a lot of cool companies that do a lot of interesting things. But for the most part, you need to tell your personal story about why you started this journey, or why you created this company, or what you like to do besides being in business, because that's what is actually interesting, again, for the most part. So if media does want to do the story, the good news is they will talk about your business or your company. And 3, never, ever work with a firm that guarantees anything. If a PR firm is guaranteeing you something, my experience is that's just a flat out lie. You cannot guarantee anything in this business. Knock on wood, I have 100% success rate. Every story I've done has been successfully picked up by mainstream media. Most stories usually lead to 5 good mainstream media publications. And I've had dozens of examples where it's way more than that. But I don't sign with the client unless they have good stories to tell, unless they follow my guidance. So that's the directness that I have. So if you're thinking that PR firm is going to guarantee you something, I would never, me personally, I would never work with a firm that says we guarantee you this, because that's just, they're going to be doing something that's not reputable, is my opinion.
Yeah. And in my world, and in the investing world, that's kind of like that's
a huge no-no.
Yeah, that's a huge no-no. Like, you'll go to jail if you say, "Oh, I guarantee you'll make this much money," and they don't make that much money. Like, you're probably getting locked up. So yeah. Like, that's
interesting to know. Yeah, but you'd be amazed. Again, like, so these are the type of again, there are some good PR people out there. Some of them have been my mentors as I've started this, but there are so many PR firms that have no idea what they're doing. And as a journalist, for my entire professional career, it's super annoying and frustrating dealing with that, because the way BrEpic does it is so much better and so much more streamlined. And I can say that confidently because I know this is that at this position, I know I'm better than 99.9% of the population or PR firms. I know I'm good at that.
Yeah, sure.
And this is the way everybody should be doing it. So I hope, when this book comes out, that people really give it a nice read, and it's a quick read, and it's put my heart into it. And I'm just really excited because this can help it can help a lot of people get things focused and doing things the right way.
Yeah. Well, I'll definitely be reading it because
thanks.
it's extremely interesting. So,
and I do have a question about PR and marketing, because a lot of times we hear like the words together. So can you explain kind of the difference between PR exactly and marketing? Is one just like ongoing, or how does that work?
I would disagree with that. Marketing is more of like social media, potential ads, anything like that. PR, for what I do, is essentially media relations, getting your name out there into reputable mainstream media. So it's a totally different kind of animal. I have a lot of companies that have marketing directors or marketing communications directors, and those folks generate Facebook ads or billboards or social media campaigns or internal type of like marketing publications or like brochure kind of thing. So all that's under marketing. And then public relations, again, is like creating these stories or newsy items that the mainstream media will pick up. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, it does.
So, and this is just something that came up off the top of my head. Would you say that the more transparent somebody is with their story, does that make for a better story?
Oh, absolutely. Oh my God. Yes. So here's how my brain works. Okay. Again, I'm like kind of like an alien floating around, and that's fine. I gladly admit that.
Yeah.
So someone can talk to me for an hour, and 55 of those minutes will be totally useless to what media or the general public cares about. But what my brain does is when something is interesting that's said, and when I say interesting, I mean something that I know media and that the general public will actually care about. It's like not a bomb goes off, but like it's an electric reaction in my head. So many times that has to do with people's internal struggles or something they've overcome or something super inspirational or something really unique about them. And again, that's why I said before, media cares about who you are, not necessarily what you do. But if they care about who you are, they will care about what you do. So the more revealing that people are, the better chance the story has to get picked up. And so like, again, I'm a journalist, so I can talk to someone and I will get stuff out of them that no one else has ever gotten out of, because I just know how to do that. I never prepare any questions for interviews ever. It's all organic, and I just immediately know when something is a good story. It's just a unique ability. So yeah, I mean, that's a really good question, because for sources or clients or contacts, those are the types of stories that people really care about, and they've probably never told any journalist or anyone those type of stories before they've talked to me or anyone on my team.
For sure. Yeah. And that really helps a lot, just because like I always end up telling people my story, onboarding them to the podcast or when I do some type of public speaking engagement.
Yep.
And there's always this one piece that I'm like, should I say it or not? And
you would tell me.
Oh yeah, I definitely tell you. I definitely am gonna tell you. But sometimes I think I said it like once, and it got a really good reaction. But it was like that part of my life where it was like the absolute lowest part. But
so I can totally relate. One of the chapters in my book is so like, again, everybody's like, entrepreneur life, it's amazing. I can tell you, I've never made more money. I made so much money that I never thought I would ever make. And let me tell you, I have never been more depressed or isolated or alone there's literally no reason for me to be depressed. Like I have a wonderful family. My wife has a great job. My kids are awesome. And the stress of this life around a year ago now, I mean, it was overwhelming, how depressed and stressed out I was from this. And that's one of the chapters in the book, because people need to understand that there's literally, like what you just said, I don't know any entrepreneurs, at least good ones, that have not been through extreme depression, like way worse than anything you can imagine in corporate.
Yeah.
And that's just how this life is, because no one ever talks about it. No. Again, that's why I think this book is so important, because it's not I'm holding nothing back. I'm telling you like how this life really is. The really, really big highs and like very extreme lows. And part of that chapter is like, it has studies and reputable reports about, like, essentially every entrepreneur has some type of mental illness, like a depression or ADHD or OCD or something, like, because that's just like, we're wired differently. So you have to talk about it. So I'm really, the book thing's been cathartic, because I can like actually talk about it. And then I know entrepreneurs will relate to it, because we're all going through the same type of ups and downs.
Yeah, for sure. I can't wait for it to come out. And starting to wrap it up here, because we definitely want to respect your time. What are some mistakes that you see a lot of business owners do in regard to...
How much time do we have?
We have as much time as you want, but I just, we're more than half of the way through the list of questions. So, so take as much time as you need.
So mistakes are trying to do too much. That's the number one thing. I talk to so many people and they're like, I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this. I go, what do you really like to do? And what are you really good at? And don't worry about anything else. Don't spread yourself too thin. And when people do that, when they can find their real unique ability, it changes everything. And the other key thing is, don't expect your business to be an overnight sensation. I got really great advice from this amazing attorney. She's super well connected. She's just awesome. Her name's Kristen. And she said, when I've talked to her probably once a quarter. And when BrEpic originally started, she said to me, when you start a business, it takes 2 full years to figure it out. And at the time I didn't understand that, because I'm like, 2 years, holy God, I can't believe this. So sure enough, 2 years into the business, I had figured out the right networking groups. I'd really streamlined the process. I had raised the rates to what I really should be valued at. And things were really humming along. I was getting the right referrals. But when I first started, I'm like, I can't even think about 2 years from now. I'm thinking about 2 minutes from now.
Right.
So like what I tell people now, and because, they're not literally on the ledge, but like you can see like the just overwhelming stress, and they're like, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, it takes 2 full years, not 1 year, not 18 months. It takes you 2 years. And when you get through that 2-year point, you're going to be in good shape. And if you're not, you might want to think about doing something else. But and it's amazing how fast those 2 years went. And now I'm almost at the 3-year mark, and it's only, like I said, it's only getting bigger and better. And I just have this incredible vision of making it a worldwide company. But again, you got to give it time and be as patient as you possibly can. So those are the mistakes I see people make. They spread themselves too thin, and they don't have the patience and understand that this is a process that takes 2-year commitment to figure it out.
Yeah. And I just love how accurate that is. I was like, man, it was 2 years for us.
It takes 2 years. Right. Yeah, see how happy you are. So the smile that you got, go ahead.
I was just saying, one of my friends, it took him 2 years. So that was so accurate. I was like, man, I never heard anybody say that.
So the smile that's on your faces, all my clients now share this like joy for life in terms of their families and their business And it's so exciting for me to see like how happy you guys are. But the thing is like, and again, this is what I'm trying to tell people. You got to put in the work. You can't, it's just not going to happen. And for God's sakes, never tell me you gave anything for free away. I don't ever want to hear anyone say that again on this podcast.
Not anymore.
You never again. And I can't wait to talk to you in like a year when when your people are investing 10 grand, if not more, because why not? There's nothing stopping you from doing that. It's only in your heads. So that's what I've learned too, is like, you just keep raising rates. And if you do a good job and you get results, people will gladly pay it. I was talking to this, she's out in California. She's a relationship guru. And I was telling her my rates and she was like, oh, that's not bad. I go, oh, okay, great. And so those are the people you want. And when that happens, then it's like, oh God, I really found the right group of people.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like that quality over quantity.
Definitely.
Yeah, but then the quality turns into quantity. So now I have quantity and quality, but you had to start with quality and a little bit of quantity, and then that kept going to higher and higher levels. So, but you exactly right. Quality over quantity for sure. 100%.
For sure.
Yeah. So how does someone start a PR company? Would you recommend like you're transitioning from, journalism or, from the media, they already have like those relationships there?
So that's a really good question. One, if someone wants to reach out to me, I help people start PR firms all the time because I like to help people get out of corporate hell or, corporate BS nonsense. It's just like so many people help me start this business that I love paying it forward. But I mean, to start a PR company, one, you've got to be a hustler. To start any company, you have to be a hustler. You have to understand how much rejection you're going to face, like overwhelming rejection, and you just have to keep going. You can never give up. So it's good to have those contacts, obviously, and understand what a good story is. So like just starting a PR firm from scratch, if you don't have any journalism background, is going to be very hard. But I mean, the key to starting any business is just never giving up. You cannot give up. It's like, and you're going to just get beaten down time and time and time and time and time again, thousands of times. And the best entrepreneurs I know never gave up.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
Yeah.
So what is a number one takeaway that you want entrepreneurs to really glean from this podcast episode with you?
Wow. I ask this question to people all the time, and now I see why they have such a hard time answering it. Because I have so much advice to share, and I want to help people so badly. So here, the number one thing is you have to be prepared. If you're going to start a business or you just started one, you have to understand how damaging to your mental health this life can be if you don't seek help, if you don't take care of yourself, if you don't have a good support system, and if you don't have people who are in your corner. So that's a kind of depressing thing to say, but I think it's so important because I've seen this life break a lot of people because they aren't prepared for it, and they're just thinking it's going to be all fun and you're going to get to do whatever you want. But you really need to understand that it's not for everybody, and you've really got to be prepared for knowing that there's going to be some highs, but there's also going to be some tremendous lows, and again, the best folks can overcome those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I love that piece of advice.
Yeah, I do too. It's almost as if like being an entrepreneur, you're kind of like you start out as a mad scientist, have to figure out how to become a happy mad scientist.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Right. And it never ends, meaning like it's you don't know, you're not getting a paycheck every 2 weeks. Something that changed my brain immensely. I'm in this program called Strategic Coach, which is the greatest thing ever. That's one of those entrepreneurial programs I was talking about. It's between 10 and 12,000 a year. You have to make between 200 and 500,000 a year. It's only entrepreneurs. And it's been the greatest thing ever for me because it's helped train my brain and introduce me to these great people around the world. And, part of it is thinking that you get paid like an entertainer, meaning like an entertainer gets a big check when they perform either in a concert or in a movie or something. And then they might not get paid for, weeks or months or whatever. And then they have to recharge. And that's very similar to an entrepreneur thinking. So when I first started, I was like, oh, I got to get a paycheck every week or a paycheck every week. And that's not how it is. And when you've been doing that your whole life, it takes, again, 2 years to change your brain to figure out this is how I'm getting paid now. You get paid a lot more, but when you don't see a paycheck coming for like 4 weeks, it can be like totally mentally exhausting. So I don't even know where I went with that, but it's like, it's just part of like changing your brain and having that support system to make sure you understand this is how it works.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Gotta reality.
Gotta
yes. Right.
Yeah.
So you are on the Abundant Culture podcast, and we have to ask every guest this question.
Okay.
So the question is, how do you spread abundance?
Oh my God. So let me get this award. Can you see this thing? Okay. So nobody who can't see it, but so I'm in this networking group called Provisors. And so I got this award. It's called King of Candidate Referrals. So literally all I'm doing is like, again, my unique ability is telling these stories, but I introduce high-level people to high-level people like dozens of times a day because I just love getting people on the same page together, like great people to meet other great people. Mm-hmm. So just like I sent you a bunch of people who could be on your podcast, I just think they're awesome people. I mean, some of them are clients, but some of them aren't. But it's the more you give, the more you get in return. And I'm not talking about financial return. I'm talking about like this immense joy. And so part of my book is like this, like if you look at Plato, he wrote about it in the Republic, like humans are supposed to be giving, like we're supposed to do that. But through society or whatever and social media and all that stuff, we've been trained to not be like that. Yeah. But really, and I was like philosophical. I never thought like this before, but this is what happens when you're an entrepreneur and you deal with these amazing people all day. But you're supposed to be innately giving to people. And most people don't understand that. But the people I hang out with and my entrepreneurial friends and clients, they're all like that. They're just give. And they know things will come back in return. But I mean, you can ask other people, but like I constantly am helping people or introducing people and all that, because that's the way it should be. I mean, you should be doing that and not expecting anything in return. It's not, I do this for you, you do this for me. I don't care if anybody, returns the favor. I just like to help people. So for sure. That's how I like to spread abundance. I mean, that's the way people should be. And it just got lost in the shuffle of things. Things changed, but that's how humans are literally supposed to be.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So this was a absolutely incredible episode. I truly appreciate having you on. This was like just amazing, like a plethora of information about.
Good use of plethora. Nice. Good job.
I used to read the dictionary a lot. I was but a lot of information on, PR and marketing and all those different things. And I'm sure that there's going to be people who listen to this and they have questions for you. Mm-hmm. So for those people who have questions for you, or maybe they already know they want to work with you, how do they actually get into contact with you?
Sure. So my email is justin@BrEpicLLC.com. That's B as in boy, R-E, P as in pony, I-C as in cobra, LLC.com. Justin@BrEpicLLC.com. Or my website is www.brepicllc.com. And on that site, you'll see more information about the book as well. It's getting launched May 19th. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait for it.
Get the book, everybody. Get the book.
Yes. So this was, like he was saying, this episode was truly great. And we really, really appreciate you coming on to the podcast and spreading all this, as you were saying, shedding all this light on the audience and listeners. So thank you so much for being a part of the Abundant Culture Podcast.
Happy to do it. And I really appreciate your time and this opportunity.
No problem. So that's all we have for today, folks. I hope you got as much value out of this as we did. Keep in mind, the only way we can improve is through constructive feedback. So remember to rate and review this episode. Also, you are not the only person that needs to know this super valuable information. So be sure to subscribe and share as well. Stay tuned for the next episode. And remember to always spread abundance. Peace.